Hey guys, it's me again, Nova, the edgy karate guy, your Tekken buddy. This is the aftermath of my video called A Technical Showcase on How and Why Tekken 8 is not a legitimate Tekken experience as of yet. As of today, this video has already reached 80,000 viewers, and it's all you guys. I couldn't be more grateful. I never could have expected this video would be so successful, since it's merely an abridged showcase of a recurring issue I have been covering in my channel in much larger scale projects, more detailed videos that are all included in my dedicated playlist, objectively addressing the mistakes of Tekken 8 in forensic detail. Please, do check out my playlist. I promise you it will be worth every second. I'm putting my heart and my soul into this project, hoping it can make a difference. But not everything is sunshine and rainbows. Even though many people came to appreciate my video and were so kind and supportive, there are those who did not appreciate my video at all, such as the case of FightingGM, who needs no introductions, great league player from the US. When people came telling me, yo, GM is reacting to your video bro, I felt so flattered and I had so many positive expectations. Turns out, he did not react positively to it at all. In fact, for what it's worth, never in my life I could possibly conceive such an outrageous failure in listening and reading comprehension. It felt so much more like a hit piece than a genuine reaction where the person reacting is willing to engage your points on good faith. No, that wasn't what happened at all. So, we will dissect what happened exactly and prove beyond any reasonable doubt that FightingGM is completely mistaken and that current Tekken 8 is, indeed, not a legitimate Tekken experience. They took away from the defender the capacity to space himself away from the opponent and create essential whiffs.
Alright, you see how he's doing this, right? There's like in different situations in Tekken, you have to understand this, and every Tekken has always been like that. There's situations that you can't just backdash up close. Like if Steve does this in any other game, you won't be able to backdash out of it. That's not new to Tekken 8, son. That's how Steve is, bro.
But what do we get in any Tekken experience other than Tekken 8?
Shut your bitch ass up, nigga. Nobody asked you how to...
It's different though.
Hold it!
And every Tekken has always been like that. There's situations that you can't just backdash up close. Like if Steve does this in any other game, you won't be able to backdash out of it. That's not new to Tekken 8, son. That's how Steve is, bro. So it's kind of, you know, to compare both games, it's kind of like, the movement is better.
Wait a minute!
Every Tekken has always been like that. If Steve does this in any other game, you won't be able to backdash out of it. Yeah, so the movement is a lot different, and the frames on Steve's stuff is a bit better in Tekken 8 also.
Make your damn mind, bro. Has it always been like that? Or is it different?
It's different though.
Oh, so it's different, right? You cannot disengage and create this essential whiff. Thanks for proving me right, bro. Steve couldn't always do this as you claimed, because if he did, you would eventually space him and kill him for it. I mean, Tekken? Sounds familiar to you, or has it been so long already? You just proved the whole point of my video, and that's a wrap. Well, it would be a wrap if you didn't keep making it worse and worse and worse as the video progressed. So I have no choice but to proceed. We have to start from the obvious premise. This video absolutely wasn't about Steve. This video absolutely wasn't about Jin. but he completely failed to grasp this premise. He proved to be completely incapable of thinking about game design on the most basic conceptual level. It's a complete failure of imagination. He completely failed at abstract thinking. There's no abstraction at all. And this will become very clear, progressively more evident as we go on.
This is a bad example though, because this move is 0 on block. So since you know the string he's doing is 0 on block, and I believe the last hit you could duck.
Hold it! No, you absolutely cannot duck flicker 1 up 1. Actually, every single move from this loop jails on the first hit, so you cannot duck any of them on reaction. That's misinformation number 1.
Your best bet is to high crush him to get away with it. You could just hit him out of it. You see all that stuff he's doing? You could just, he playing Jin, right? He could do down 2. He could do any high crush. Like if somebody's just doing like that, because Steve is all highs. You could either punch parry. He could punch parry or high crush that, man. That's what you just gotta adapt to it, man.
You see, the video barely even started, and you're already giving unsolicited advice. You haven't even seen anything yet, but you're already giving unsolicited advice. Because your need to be so condescending, to talk down to people completely takes over. You cannot control yourself. It didn't even cross your mind for a second that maybe, just maybe, people might have something to show that you're not aware of, as it was proven right from the get-go.
Every Tekken has always been like that. Yeah, so the movement is a lot different.
Your hubris, your need to talk down on people already doomed you right from the beginning.
Yo, my man. All that stuff jails with Steve in every game, son. Like, this man is like complaining about like stuff that Steve always had. All that stuff jails with Steve, brother. Can I duck on reaction? You never could duck. That's a Steve Fox stuff, boy. Like, that's not Tekken 8.
Exactly. You could never duck his jailing strings. These are traditional properties of Steve's strings. But there's one thing I could do against Steve, which is disengage from him. Space myself away from him to play at my desirable range, where his frame data doesn't entirely dominate mine. But you don't seem to understand that. I never once said you could duck his jailing strings in the past. I never once said that. This is textbook Strawman's fallacy. Now, we have to outline exactly how and why there is a problem. Because when you're dealing with a character blessed with a frame data that allows him to do shit like this, and this,
so this video is just basically him complaining about Steve.
oh my god, how can someone be so dense, bro? He legit interpreted my video as, quote unquote, I hate Steve and here's why you should too.
It's weird to like make a video complain about Steve. This video is literally just showing like, yo, I got a problem against Steve and he be blowing me up. So I'm gonna make a video just talking about how Steve is cheap.
This video has absolutely nothing about Steve. This video is not a complaint about Steve. As we proceed, this will become clearer and clearer. This video is ultimately about Tekken 8, not Steve, not Jin.
Like, you see how he did, alright, let's go back. Right there, you see how he did down 4 and Steve's jab back? You gotta bait him high crush punch parry, bro. You gotta parry. Of course you're gonna get interrupted. You're not plus after that low. You minus after that. You -3 after that low too.
Oh, don't tell me I'm not plus after down 4. No shit, Sherlock. You completely fail to understand the point I'm trying to convey. And this?
Yeah, -1. And then of course if he back ones you, of course he's gonna hit you out of it. You literally did a standing forward at 16 frames.
Hold it! The fuck you're talking about, dude? 16 frames? Jin standing 4, Jodan Mawashigiri is 13 frames. I use this move in the example precisely because it is fast, and I wanted to showcase how dangerous Steve is on close range. By outspeeding me by 1 frame in that interaction, he was able to counter-hit launch me. The worst outcome that can happen in the Tekken franchise. I specifically use Jin's Magic 4 precisely because it is fast and I wanted the spectator to understand the danger involved in interacting with Steve on close range. With that demonstration, I was merely trying to establish a framework, the foundation for my argument. I wasn't complaining of being interrupted or counter-hit after pressing on -1. I was trying to showcase how dangerous Steve is on close range, because this is where he excels, to the point he's able to counter-hit launch you from a mere -1 challenge. I'm not talking about -9, bro. I'm talking about -1. Then, because of how dangerous he is, I stated that you must disengage to operate at a desirable range where Steve's weapons do not work, but yours do. I wasn't complaining that Steve Back 1 is a counter-hit launcher, for God's sake. I was showcasing 1. It exists. 2. It makes Steve, Steve. 3. It is dangerous. 4. You must stay away from him as much as you possibly can because of it. Your failure at interpretation and comprehension is atrocious, bro. You completely failed to see the point I was trying to convey, as if this was a complaint about Steve being ridiculously powerful on close range, when it never was. I was only showcasing his character identity, his identitarian strength, and the precise reason it is not in your best interest to keep exchanging blows with him on close range. Man, you have misled so many people into believing that video was about hating Steve. What a disservice you've done, bro.
And he did a back 1 that's 13 frames. So it's kind of like, for a guy that's like talking about frames and things of that nature, like, it doesn't seem like he really knows too much about Tekken. He's so big on frame data. My man, he did down 4 on hit.
Get the hell away from Steve. You cannot.
Down 4 on hit, -1,
possibly
into a slow ass 16 frame homing move. Of course, you're gonna get back 1 out of it.
His frame data.
That's just how Steve is. Because he's talking about frame data, but this guy doesn't know frame data.
My man, you've just misinformed your audience by providing wrong frame data. And I don't know frames. I mean, what exactly can you do if you cannot move backwards, if you cannot move laterally, if everything jails so you can't duck it on reaction, and you're stuck against a vastly superior frame data? The options we have involve the usage of buttons.
Yeah, man, that's Tekken 8.
Hold it!
Every Tekken has always been like that. That's not new to Tekken 8, son. Yeah, man, that's Tekken 8.
So far, you gave us 1. A flagrant contradiction, claiming things were always like that when they weren't. 2. You also gave us wrong frame data. You also gave us unwanted, matchup-specific advice that you're visibly not knowledgeable about and would only get a player killed. But we will proceed anyway. Who the hell said my options are fail-proof? They can also lead me into disaster.
Yeah, it's Tekken, man. There's different ways to stop different things. Obviously, one option is not going to stop everything. That's just how the game is. You do one thing, it could get countered by one thing. If he does another thing, you could counter that with another thing.
Man, he has absolutely no sense of proportion. He's displaying an absolute lack of understanding proportions. Yes, it is true. The exchange of favorable and unfavorable interactions according to the usage of different options pretty much define all fighting games. But that's not what's being discussed here. That was not in question at all. The question is, what happens when you are inserted in a circumstance where not only the interactions are stacked against you from a purely statistical sense of things, and not only that, the rewards you get from said interactions are completely disproportional to the disastrous outcomes in case you get them wrong. And when you do hit him, your rewards are 10 times worse than his rewards if he gets you instead. What happens is you get destroyed, bro. That's what happens. Well, that's it, guys. From now on, the entirety of this video will be based on one premise. And I'll take it upon myself to prove this premise is true. Because by me doing so, everything will become clear and you guys will finally understand what is going on here. I know what is going on here. I will make one statement, which so does happen to be a bold statement. But I'll take it upon myself to prove it, and I promise you guys it will become clearer and clearer to the point in the end you will be absolutely positive about it. My statement is, FightingGM completely fails to understand Tekken outside of the conveniences of his own character, Lee Chaolan. And that is precisely what makes him such a terrible analyst, despite being a great player himself. And by great player, I really mean it. If you look at his footage, within seconds you will realize in the small details that is some good-ass Lee gameplay. So ain't nobody ever taking that away from him. He's a really good Lee player. Now, wait a minute. Let me be very clear. With the responses GM provided, I can conclude with absolute certainty and absolute conviction that he is incapable of understanding the intricacies of the game Tekken as a whole, beyond and devoid of a Lee-focused lens. And it will become very clear to you, the spectator, as we progress through the video. Granted, I am fully aware this is a bold statement. As I am fully aware, the burden of proof is entirely on me. So, with that in mind, here we go.
And of course, you can always gamble. Swigget to strike is...
That's another thing. You see how he says you can always gamble? Doing that punch parry with Steve, with Jin against Steve is not really a gamble when everything he has is punches. So you're going to be able to deal with like more than half of his moves just because you punch. So it's not really, it's kind of in Jin's favor to do a parry versus Steve.
And he immediately gets refuted 1 second later. So it's that easy, huh? You just go YOLO Jin's punch parry, and it has to work on Jin's favor, right? After all, Steve uses punches, right? So what could go wrong then? Nothing can really go wrong, right? Right?
an available option, but the parry frame window is so tight that it will more. But the parry frame window.
You notice that he did.
Swigget.
You notice that he did what? What? What exactly did I do, man? What exactly did I do other than Jin Sabaki parry? What you really wanted to say is, you notice that he did, oh, I don't know what to say about it, because I have been caught off guard, because it's not that simple as I was leading my audience to believe it was, and this crafty motherfucker called NovaSeiken beat me to it, and included examples explaining in forensic detail how gambling punch parries, particularly Sabaki parries that are built-in moves before being a parry, such as Jin Suigetsu Strike, Kazuya F1+2, Heihachi up back 2, is not that simple and will often lead to disaster. That is what you really wanted to say, man, but couldn't. Oh, by the way, we will be talking about punch parries later in the video. By then, things will become so much clearer.
Swigget to strike is an available
Yeah, or he could do the other parry. The other parry is better. The one that he just puts his hands up like that, he could just do that.
Objection! Oh man, we're in for a treat. What did you just say, bro? Care to repeat, please?
Yeah, or he could do the other parry. The other parry is better. The one that he just puts his hands up like that, he could just do that.
So, according to you, we, Jin players, should just Jin parry, bro. Is that right? That's what you said, right? There's no confusing it. There's no room for interpretation. There's no mistaking to the gesture you've made. That is Jin's parry. You are referring to Jin's parry. And you are unironically advising Jin players to Jin parry Steve. Against Steve of all characters, man. Oh, it is so on, man. It's so on. Thanks for this little treat. It is the perfect evidence to prove how out of depth and out of touch is your analysis. If there is a character you must not Jin parry, that character is Steve, bro. So what the hell are you talking about? And I'll explain exactly the reasons why. Even though it is obvious, basic, green-ranked Jin knowledge. This video wasn't about Steve, nor it was about Jin. But since he made it so, since he mistakenly turned my video into, quote-unquote, I hate Steve and here's why you should too, let's work from that. Let's see what the man has to say about Steve versus Jin in particular, which wasn't the point of the video, but we'll still work from that, just to showcase how out of depth and out of touch his analysis truly is.
Or you could do the other parry. The other parry is better. The one that he just puts his hands up like that, he could just do that.
Number 1. The first reason you must not Jin parry against Steve is the most glaring and obvious one. Steve is a safe on whiff character, notoriously known for having completely broken recovery on whiff on pretty much the entirety of his move list. This just goes to tell it's crystal clear FightingGM doesn't have a single clue about what Jin's parry actually is and how it behaves. So first, let's lay the groundwork. Let's get to know what Jin parry actually is and how it behaves. The outcomes you will get from a successfully parried move will depend on the recovery on whiff of the move you successfully parried. So I will give you this example with the Mishima Electric Wind God Fist. Electric Wind God Fist is minus 25 on whiff. A successful parry animation takes 14 frames. So, according to the parry formula, a parried electric will be minus 11 on parry. The problem is, GM doesn't have a single clue of what Jin's parry is. To GM, Jin's parry is some sort of magic device, a magic button, Deus Ex Machina, that magically solves everything for Jin and guarantees a devastating punish. It couldn't be further from the truth. So let's unveil the curtain and reveal the reality that GM has swept under the rug. This is why you never go Jin parry against Steve, but Suigetsu strike instead. He's Sabaki parry.
Yeah, or you could do the other parry. The other parry is better. The one that he just puts his hands up like that, he could just do that.
Number 2. Steve's moves are often fast, multi-hitting strings where Jin's parry animation cannot keep up. Therefore, not only Steve has the power to forbid you from multi-parrying his strings, but more than often, he now has the power to kill you for doing so, because Tekken 8 Jin's parry was made vulnerable on its startup. It was made slower and was made vulnerable. They disrespected Jin's reactive identity in Tekken 8. His parry universalizing effectiveness has been disrespected, and it was also made vulnerable and 1 frame slower on startup.
Also, the reason why he got hit by this. Alright, let's go back, because I'm gonna break stuff down right now. You see, he did.
Of course, you can always.
See, that's 12 frames, right? So that's why he parried it.
But the parry frame window.
This one is 18 frames, so obviously he's gonna have to change his timing because this is way slower. The move that he parried was 12 frames. So it's like you have to understand Tekken a little bit more. You're not going to be able to do a parry and parry every single move, no matter the speed of it, unless you play like Leroy or you do Jin's that one.
Objection! Oh, you're not. You're not gonna be able to. I will address this bullshit piece by piece because there is another flagrant contradiction here. Before, it was just punch parry, bro, easy W.
Yeah, just punch parry him or duck launch, high crush. So you could either punch parry. He could punch parry or high crush that, man. That's what you just gotta adapt to it, man. You gotta bait him high crush, punch parry, bro. You gotta parry.
Now, it's not that simple, huh?
You're not gonna be able to do a parry and parry every single move.
Now, you magically realize there are dire consequences to mistiming a sabaki parry, and that each specific punch demands a specific timing. So it's not just punch parry, bro, as you claimed beforehand. It's much more complicated than what you led your audience to believe it was. But we will go even further. You know, back then I kept wondering, how did you have the audacity to casually claim, just high crush, bro, just punch parry, bro, just challenge him, bro? It makes one wonder, why is that so easy and casual to you? And I got the answer for that, because I happen to actually know Tekken. The reason you're so casual about it is because you're in a position of privilege and you don't even realize it. So, after the example I provided proved it's not that simple as just punch parry, bro, and backed you into a corner, forcing you to contradict yourself, this was your way out, or so you believed.
You're not going to be able to do a parry and parry every single move.
But do you know who can, quote-unquote, parry every single move, disregarding specific timing? Lee Chaolan.
Come on.
Oh, it is so on, man. I'll prove how out of touch you really are in these matters.
See, that's 12 frames, right? So that's why he parried it. This one is 18 frames, so obviously he's gonna have to change his timing because this is way slower. The move that he parried was 12 frames, so it's like you have to understand Tekken a little bit more.
Nah, I don't think I have to understand Tekken a little bit more. I think I just have to play Libra, and he'll do the rest for me. Even if you mistime yours, you don't die for it. So you get the luxury of keep trying it until it works.
So it's like, come on, you gotta know Tekken a little bit better, brother.
So tight that it will more than often lead.
That's not really tight. He did you parried a 12 frame move and then he did an 18 frame move. That's a big frame gap, brother.
A quote-unquote big frame gap that your character can fully cover. And that is precisely why it was so casual to you to claim,
yeah, just punch parry him. He could punch parry, bro. You gotta parry. You just gotta adapt to it, man.
If you're homeless, just buy a house.
Yeah, just punch parry him.
my reasons for affirming FightingGM doesn't understand the intricacies of Tekken as a whole, outside of a Lee-focused lens, is due to how casual he was speaking about the possible counterplays against Steve Swarming on close range. The level of disregard and nonchalance in which he was talking about just high-crushing Steve, just challenging Steve, just punch-parrying Steve, raised an alarm in my head. Immediately raised my suspicions about something. But then, my suspicions were absolutely confirmed the moment he casually stated, without a freaking care in the world, that you are perfectly capable of exchanging interactions with Steve on range 0, that you can go blow by blow, toe to toe against Steve, and if you can't, that's because you don't know your frames. You can't play on frames. You don't know frame data.
In Tekken 8, you cannot ever disengage if the opponent doesn't want you to.
No, you could. That's why frames exist.
And I must maintain this state for as long as I possibly can. Even though...
No, you can fight Steve up close. You just gotta be smarter about it. You gotta get Steve scared, you know. Like, you know,
It is
you can fight him
inevitable.
up
He will
close.
have-
He doesn't know how to stop stuff about. He doesn't understand, like, the crush system. He doesn't understand how to, like, you know, really play frame by frame. So that's why he's having so much trouble. And I can see why Steve be clapping him. I don't know what to do. I keep trying to backdash. Steve in general, you shouldn't really, like, you shouldn't really be backdashing out of him anyway. You're supposed to be, like, crushing him and punch parrying him and stuff like that.
And now all the pieces fell into place. That was the moment I got him dialed and finally understood what is going on here.
Here's the catch. In any other Tekken experience other than Tekken 8, just because my opponent managed to get inside doesn't mean I'm doomed to being locked down for eternity.
You not, though.
Unable to create space indefinitely. Sure,
I would just down 3 him and launch
I
his
might
ass.
get...
Gotcha!
I would just down 3 him and launch
I
his
might
ass.
get...
Oh, thank you so much, man. That's checkmate. I got you. The move GM is referring to is Lee down 3, a 16 frames high crushing low that counter hit launches. You see, in this context, his Lee down 3 serves the exact same purpose and application as my Jin down 4, both high crushing, 16 frame startup lows. Let me show you exactly what he's referring to. You see, suddenly, magically, the just high crush bro starts to make a little more sense, don't you think? But it goes beyond that, way beyond that. If I get my down 4 blocked, what do I pay for it exactly? Wildman Punish, 29 damage. But now here's the catch. What does he pay for his devastating, high crushing, counter hit launching low? Ding 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 ding, you guessed right. Wildman Punish. He also pays 29 damage. While his rewards are 10 times more powerful, the risk he runs is the exact same as mine. And the reason is, Lee's down 3 is minus 15 on block. Steve cannot launch punish this low.
I would just down 3 him and launch
I
his
might
ass.
get...
So let's talk numbers, because that's all that matters ultimately. Let's count how many successful close-range interactions are needed in order to win the round. My high crushing low versus his high crushing low. Same application, same startup. But what if the other side, as in Steve, gets it right before I can get it right 16 times? This move is the quintessential anti-Steve move. There is no existing move in Tekken that you could possibly think of that could be more devastating against Steve, that could be more tailor-made to destroy Steve than this.
If you're homeless, just buy a house.
Steve in general, you shouldn't really be backdashing out of him anyway. You're supposed to be like crushing him. Your best bet is to high crush him to get away with it. I would just down 3 him and launch
I
his
might
ass.
get...
Just buy a house.
I would just down 3 him.
Remember he was mocking me, accusing me of not knowing how to play frame by frame, that I don't know my frames, and that you could casually go toe-to-toe with Steve on close-range interactions. And if you can't, that's because you don't know how to play on frames. Remember all that? Gee man, I wonder what's the reason behind this.
Of course you're gonna get interrupted. You're not plus after that low. You minus after that. Yeah, -1. And then of course if he back ones you, of course he's gonna hit you out of it. My man, he did down 4 on hit, down 4 on hit, -1. Of course you're gonna get back 1 out of it. Of course you're gonna get interrupted. You're not plus after that low. You minus after that. Yeah, -1. And then of course if he back ones you, of course he's gonna hit you out of it. -1. Of course you're gonna get back 1 out of it.
If you're homeless, just buy a house.
You could just hit him out of it.
Just buy a house.
He doesn't understand how to, like, you know, really play frame by frame. No, you could. That's why frames exist. No, you could fight Steve up close. You just gotta be smarter about it. You gotta get Steve scared, you know.
Are you starting to see a pattern here? It's kinda easy to be smart when the smartness in question is your character doing everything for you, giving you the frame supremacy on close-range interactions. Your lead privileges weren't affected by Tekken 8. You don't feel the need to disengage to survive this madness because you're part of it. You relish in it. Not being able to space yourself away from your opponent, to not get smothered to death by superior frame data, doesn't personally affect you in any way. You are in your comfort zone when stuck at range 0. I wonder if the reason you pay no mind and don't understand the concept of being able to disengage is because you're talking from a position of privilege, where your character gives you the power to indulge in guessing interactions with extremely favorable odds to you and massively reward you in case you get it right. I wonder if you couldn't explode your opponent by always outspeeding him through faster, superior frames, crushing him with an extremely fast, evasive low while counter-hit launching him in the process. I wonder if you would start appreciating the importance of being able to disengage and work on different ranges if you had this privilege taken away from you. It's quite convenient for you to state, "Oh, just guess, bro," when your character is tailor-made to thrive on close-range interactions. Outspeeding and exploding people who press into you is literally what your character does. This is what defines Lee. Not even Steve himself can compete with Lee in this department. The problem is, not everyone is Lee, bro. I mean, it's almost like Tekken characters are inherently different. They have different frame data, different move properties, different strengths, different weaknesses, different ranges to be played optimally according to the matchup, etc. It is a complete failure of imagination from you. Since you are intellectually incapable of understanding Tekken in a conceptual level outside of a Lee-focused lens, it's only natural that being forced to interact with your opponent and being unable to disengage from him is not a big deal to you. Of course it's not. When you are in a position of privilege where you play the fastest motherfucker in the game, with the power to out-Steve Steve, of course the need to be able to disengage wouldn't sound as important.
Disengaging is the only way to force the opponent to...
They always come up with new words. I never heard of no damn disengaging. What the hell is that, bro? I never heard of that Tekken phrase.
Play
man.
at your range.
That's why I tell you, man. Tekken 7 scrubified man people. He just wants to like backdash out of everything. and just throw out 4-4. And now you can't do that no more. And now he don't know how to play.
It's a failure of understanding things on a conceptual level, and also a failure of being able to see Tekken as a whole, beyond a Lee-focused lens, setting aside and brushing off every reality that does not accommodate the conveniences of Lee. But no, if my character gets the power to casually out-Steve Steve, then that means every character must be able to do the same. And everyone that believes otherwise, if someone believes characters are inherently different and some of them would not operate properly by being smothered to death on range 0 by a much superior frame data, if someone believes that characters must be allowed to disengage and create essential whiffs, then he's obviously a scrub, right? Everyone that believes otherwise is a scrub. If he doesn't want to be smothered to death on range 0, well, that's because he doesn't know frame data. That's because he doesn't know how to play on frames, right?
If you want to know more about why, I made a whole video covering this issue in forensic detail. It's called The Incapacity to Create Whiffs. A systematic problem killing Tekken 8 from within.
You could create whiffs if you got good neutral, brother. There's no incapacity to create no damn whiffs, man.
Well, with that, I'm absolutely positive I was able to prove, beyond any reasonable doubt, my claim that, despite being a great player himself, FightingGM is not a good Tekken analyst, and that he only understands Tekken within a Lee-focused lens. My work here is done, but I still owe you guys some final considerations, just for the sake of consistency, and to make all my intentions clear. People have criticized me for not including lateral movement in that video. So, we'll do it this time to show it's not that simple. And I'll also clarify things for the sake of consistency. Yes, there are indeed advanced lateral movement options to respond to specific options from Steve. The reasons I didn't cover advanced lateral movement options in that video are many. First, the goal of my video wasn't to talk about lateral movement. That wasn't the point of the video, because I already have a scheduled, dedicated video to lateral movement in Tekken 8 that I'll release in the future. Lateral movement wasn't the point of this video. I wanted to showcase the incapacity to disengage and how the sabotaged backwards movement from Tekken 8 makes it a more illegitimate Tekken experience. Second, I was trying to address the criticism from some of my viewers in the past. I was trying to address the complaints of some of my viewers that I only produce long-ass, ultra-detailed videos and that I bloat it with so much information they cannot keep up. So, in order to appease and accommodate the conveniences of deep-fried TikTok attention spans, I decided to make an abridged video that would only include one character as an example and how sabotaged backwards movement makes the game completely favor the aggressor, particularly aggressors who excel at close-range interactions. That is precisely why I picked Steve. It wasn't an attack on Steve. It's just that he's a great example. He could serve as a model character to showcase the real problem of being unable to disengage, precisely because he excels at range 0 and doesn't excel in long ranges. Usually, my technical videos are like 60 minutes, 19 minutes, 1200 minutes, 1800 minutes. This time, I wanted to make it shorter to accommodate these people. The fact that I only picked one character this time as an example and made a concise, straight to the point, abridged video instead of my long-ass essay format videos was used as a pretext for people to completely misinterpret my video as an attack on said character. I conclude that it is materially impossible to please everyone. If you try to address the complaints of some, you will be criticized for entirely different reasons just for the sake of criticism. And that is exactly what happened this time.
See, he was complaining about stuff like that, right? Of course, if you know frames, you can counter him, right? So you can sidewalk too. So it's like he was just like worried about backdash, but like, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of ways to stop stuff like that. You can sidewalk it. Like, I don't know why he was complaining about, you know, like basic stuff like this that you could literally just play neutral. See how I stepped it and then block? You could do this too. And then magic for him. See? There's so much counterplay, bro. So that's why I was like, why is this guy complaining about this stuff jailer? You could just like, you could sidewalk, magic forward, you could punch Parry, right? You could high crush, you could duck. It's like kind of crazy to make a whole video complaining that you can't backdash all of that stuff. But you could just sidewalk a lot of stuff. Steve's tracking is not as good as it used to be. And even if Steve does something like this, right? Like he was showing this, right? Stuff like this is kind of like corny to show, because look, you can't backdash that, right? But you can sidewalk it. See? That's why I want to make a video showcasing this to show all those dudes up. Because you talking about, oh, you can't just backdash, you can't engage. My man, you could just sidewalk it, you could high crush it, you could punch parry it, you could counter hit him out of it. It's weird to make a video like that. But like dudes are so scrubby that it's because they don't understand things. Like let's say he does this, right? You see how he's +3, right? You can't like backdash, right? See? But you can sidewalk, right? So I do this, right? See? So he was complaining that he couldn't backdash out of all of that. He had to just take it. But that's how you could tell the guy's low level. That's how you could tell he's low level, man. He doesn't know how to play the game.
Man, don't you realize what is happening right in front of your eyes?
So you can sidewalk too.
You're literally gaslighting yourself and your audience. You've got clipped multiple times already. And on practice mode, mind you, a controlled environment.
So you can sidewalk, right? You can just sidewalk a lot of stuff. Steve's tracking is not that...
It's not that simple as you claim it is. And I'll prove it. While being clipped multiple times, he was gaslighting you, the spectator, and himself ultimately, to quote-unquote, just sidewalk, bro. When it comes to lateral movement against Steve, it is so much more complicated than what you're making it out to be. So much more complicated, for a multitude of reasons. The first is glaring and obvious. Steve has the power to transition to multiple stances in his key buttons. These stance transitions happen in milliseconds, as in, you have no idea which stance he went for and what the hell can come out of it. Steve is already notoriously known for, quote-unquote, having tracking on everything. The community as a whole complain about Steve not even having to think about homing buttons, because his key buttons such as 1-1 already organically track for him. These are not my words, by the way. I can live with Steve's identitarian tracking just fine. I don't personally mind his tracking. This is not a personal complaint. What I can't live with, obviously, is the sabotaged backwards movement in Tekken 8. Being incapable of disengaging from Steve. But anyway, I digress. Raw sidewalking Steve is already a massive gamble. But I won't talk about it subjectively. I won't talk about it generically. I will use the examples I demonstrated in my video. Specialized advanced movement against Steve is a nightmare. because each option that come out of his stances, or even his free moves outside stances, will demand conflicting, contradicting, advanced lateral movement options to specifically deal with each one of them. And even then, it is a massive gamble, because not only he will have variations that will organically kill movement, but you'll also be more than killed if you try to duck into punish a possible high follow-up. Let me demonstrate the madness that FightingGM tried to sweep under the rug and make it sound so simple. For that very specific situation, if he goes 2-1 into flicker 1 up 1, a great option you could try, on paper, is sidestep left low parry. Moving left is the only way to evade flicker 1 jabs. This option would cover and kill other Steve likely and interesting options such as peekaboo 2 or peekaboo down 1. Well, it would be a shame if he had a safe mid variation that will always kill sidestep into duck and is also a counter hit knockdown. But not only that, having multiple options to kill sidestep into duck. The only way to stop this mid variation, flicker 1 F1, is through a sidewalk, which is pretty much everything Steve wants you to do. If you roll sidewalk, you will be completely destroyed by his most desirable options. It is so chaotic that there are 13 possible variations just for the flicker 1 jab alone. So you can never know the nature, as in if it's a high or a mid, or the amount of follow-ups he will go for, making duck into while standing punisher already suicidal in itself, since you don't know how much time you have to stay ducking. And to stay ducking is the guarantee that all the mid variations will clip you, including all his stance mids, his dangerous stance mids such as flicker 2. So it is complete chaos. Lateral movement against Steve is ultimately a chaotic, terrible choice. Even if you've done the right thing, you still run the constant risk of dying for it. GM is full of shit when advising you, the spectator, to move laterally against Steve. I mean, if only there was a way so that I could get out of this unfavorable situation by putting myself on a different circumstance where I can make the odds work more on my favor. Like spacing and backdashing, for instance. Miss me yet? Well guys, that's it for today. I am deeply sorry for having to halt my schedule because of this, but it had to be done. I really had no choice. I would just let it be if he just made that first outrageous reaction video. But since he somehow took it personally and made subsequent videos just to do personal attacks, he called me a scrub, a low-level player or whatever, only then I felt like I had to do this. And I'm deeply sorry for halting my schedule like that, because I have so many important projects to finish, and I have to keep adding to the Saving Tekken 8 playlist. I hope with this video I was able to clarify my intentions and properly address the criticism of the previous video once and for all. The next video will be a massive nuke. I'll be addressing lateral movement in Tekken 8. So stay tuned guys, I promise you will not regret it. I thank you guys for all the kindness and support you give me, and we'll be seeing each other again. God bless.